Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of True Believers here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, True Believers is your show that covers everything happening in the MCU. And of course, the big happenings right now is Agatha All Along. I'm your host, Kyle, and we are here to talk about episode 7 of Agatha All Along, Death's Hand in Mind. And what a big episode it was as we march to next week with the final 2 episodes coming out, and we will be covering all of those here at True Believers. But first, we got to talk about Agatha All Along, Death's Hands in Mind. And you know what? Kevin still is trapped in that swamp I put him in a few weeks ago. Hopefully he's enjoying the giant spiders in Australia, which means that, you know what? I need a little extra guest hosting on here. And luckily that I have the man for that. He has been filling in while Kevin has been out. He is the one and only Cat Cedar.
Hey. Can't wait. Can't for Kevin to get back either, but hopefully we won't be as dirty as I am right now.
Yeah. Well, and looking at your Tesseract, it's starting to look a little white and a little less blue. So we definitely need him to come back so we can recharge your little chunk of the Tesseract there.
Yeah, I'm warming it up for you right now, so hopefully we'll be good to go for power.
Now, Kat, before we begin, I think we both deserve a little pat on the back here. I think if you watch the last episode of True Believers or listen to it, I think we had a little of our own fortune telling here, and I think we nailed a few things that we expected for this episode.
Dude, I think we've nailed things from the last one to the last one as well. We nailed what last week was going to be about and what this week was about. So if we're following our key, hopefully we're both going to be totally wrong for the next week.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe Marvel will surprise us and we will see, but it has definitely been a fun ride as we discuss Agatha All Along here on the True Believers podcast, which of course you can find here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, and give us a share. We appreciate that as always. But we are here to talk Agatha All Along, Kat, and we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. But first, we've got other things to discuss. So before we do anything else, listen to Cap, listen to Tony. We got some spoilers ahead. We're going to be diving deep into the latest episode of Agatha All Along. So if you have not watched the episode yet, first, what is wrong with you? Agatha must have you under some kind of spell. Go watch the episode. Come back, join us, because it's going to be a fun conversation, and we're looking forward to having you be a part of it. But there are a few things happening around the Fandom Podcast Network, specifically on True Believers, and we just like to remind you what was going on there because it's the year of Deadpool and Wolverine. They're everywhere. They're even talking about Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman hosting the Oscars, possibly. I mean,
that would be awesome.
That would be the best Oscars maybe of all time. I'm just saying, but you know what? Deadpool and Wolverine just recently hit. Digital is coming out on Blu-ray and on 4K very soon, and it might even be out now. I'll be honest with you. I am in Florida. We've been dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Milton, so I'm not fully in touch with everything yet. We're still getting there.
I think it's supposed to be the end of the month. We're just close to it.
Yeah. So it might be in your trick or treat package, as they say. But get our thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine with our reaction show from when it originally came out in theaters. We had a lot of fun with that. We also have been covering everything that has been happening with Agatha all along from episode 1 through episode 6, and we will be diving this week into episode 7. But first, before anything else, too, believe it or not, we have a little MCU news. It's time for Snit, Thwip, and Kapow. Let's get to some MCU news. Kat, big news coming out of New York City Comic Con. We have a release date for Daredevil Born Again. I have been waiting for this. I am so excited. I am a huge fan of the Daredevil Netflix series, and this is basically not necessarily a true continuation, but they're doing everything but calling it that. But I have a little news here for you. At New York Comic Con in 2024, Charlie Cox and Kingpin actor Vincent D'Onofrio made appearances to promote Daredevil Born Again, which dropped its first full trailer and announced a March 4th, 2025 release date. Shade Studios' Marissa Hill captured footage of Daredevil Born Again trailer, giving fans who couldn't attend the convention a chance to see several fan favorite characters in action. If you have not seen this trailer, you can find it online. is impressive. It's got me excited. But some of the highlights of it: the Daredevil Born Again trailer shows White Tiger in costume, John Barenthal's Punisher confronting Matt Murdock, and a much celebrated return of Deborah Ann Woll's Karen Page and Eldon Henson's Foggy Nelson. The latter two were, of course, fan favorite characters from the Netflix series and Matt Murdock's closest friends. However, and they weren't initially included in Daredevil Born Again until the series underwent dramatic rewrites. But perhaps the most notable moment of the trailer is Daredevil Born Again's reunion between Matt Murdock and the Kingpin. While both characters appeared in different MCU projects, they have yet to share the screen since the Netflix show was canceled. Daredevil Born Again trailer shows the two foes meeting at a diner where Matt Murdock warns Kingpin that he will be there if the crime lord steps out of line. Kingpin responds by asking if Matt Murdock is the one delivering the warning or if it's his darker half, seemingly confirming that he knows Daredevil's true identity. This implies Kingpin discovering Daredevil's secret identity at the end of the Netflix show's third season is canon to the MCU. Kat, we're both big Daredevil fans. The Daredevil Netflix series is probably still my favorite piece of Marvel television. I can't wait. Bring this. I need this yesterday.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned last week. You asked me what my top 3 would be for shows. I said, Moon Knight, Hawkeye, and said Agatha. I mean, I might, as much as I hate to say this, I might have to bump Agatha to number 4 and put Moon Knight, Daredevil, Hawkeye. Just because I like the way the Daredevil action and storyline's been. Hawkeye is great, don't get me wrong. He's my favorite Avenger. He'll always be there. But, wow. I mean, just wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we asked that question last week, I was basically referring to the Disney Plus era of Marvel.
Oh, well, sorry. I'm adding this to it now.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're going overall, Daredevil might be my number 1 show. I mean, that's how good that is.
I think Moon Knight's the number 1 for me. I just love the.
Oh yeah, I mean we know your love for the Moon Knight, but yeah, Charlie Cox is phenomenal in the role. It was brilliant casting all the way around, and this show has undergone a lot of trouble, like a lot of things of recent MCU. But the nice thing is they took their time, did proper rewrites, brought back Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson, and I know this was originally supposed to be 18 episodes, and I believe they've cut it down to 13, but I don't care. More the fact we're getting Barenthal back as the Punisher, D'Onofrio, it just rules as the Kingpin. And like I said before, I think there's going to be things in this that might speed up and tie into another movie that was announced by the main actor during the week, because Tom Holland can't keep a secret.
Nope.
Tom Holland confirmed starting next year, Spider-Man 4 will start filming.
Yep. This will be the first number 4 for Spider-Man. I guess.
Period. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they call it, but there's the trilogies. Mm-hmm. This is the first time they're going to have a 4.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it, Kat, because I really do think after how they ended the last Spider-Man film, we're going to get back to more of a true comic book version of Spider-Man with a down on his luck Peter Parker and a street level Spider-Man.
Yep.
And I cannot wait for that.
Ground and pound, New York City. What do we call it?
Street level gang war.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what we need to see.
Well, and I'm hoping there are a lot of rumors that the Kingpin could be in Spider-Man 4.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Reflecting him still being the mayor of New York, which he will be in Daredevil Born Again. So I would love it.
Put him past it. It'd be awesome. It'd be great because then we get a tie-in with Daredevil again.
Yeah, maybe we even get a little Charlie Cox on our screen in a Spider-Man movie again. So I would be all for that. Daredevil Born Again, just bring it on. I cannot wait. I know we've got a couple of the Marvel products for it, but I am excited.
Me too.
It's time to move on because it's time to talk Agatha. And we don't.
What? Oh yeah, why we're here, Agatha.
Yeah, but we don't keep Agatha waiting. We know better.
Turn off the Daredevil.
Yeah. Of course, this is episode 7, and next week, October 30th, a little extra Halloween treat. We get the final 2 episodes of Agatha All Along. So excited for that, but we are here to talk about the latest episode, which is Death's Hand in Mine. Once again, one final spoiler alert before we get into things on this episode, because I'm going to deep dive. I got stuff, Kat. I got a lot of stuff here.
All right.
Okay. And if I bounce around, Don't worry about it. And just a quick reminder too, we are a MCU podcast, which means we don't do things by segments. We do it by phases. Kat, you got your piece of Tesseract ready?
Wham.
Okay, let's release some Tesseract
Charged up
energy.
and looking blue.
Okay, well, let's release some of that energy and get into phase 1 of this podcast. Okay, guys, we got good stuff here. Phase 1 is our plot description podcast, and let's give you a little bit of what happened.
Kyle, you're breaking up.
I will keep that in mind, sir. Agatha and Billy continue on the road before coming across the castle. On entering, the two are grabbed as the Wicked Witch of the West and Maleficent, respectively, and are presented with tarot cards. If they do not place the proper cards in the correct sequence, swords hanging from the ceiling fall down. Flashback to Lilia's childhood lesson in divination reveal that she has been experiencing her life out of order, explaining her memory lapses. After falling through the mud, Lilia discovers that Rio is the personification of death, something Agatha knew. The forebodes that her time is coming. She awakens Jen after evading the Salem 7. They venture through the tunnels before reuniting with Agatha and Billy. In this, Lilia is dressed as Glenda, Jen as the hag version of the evil queen. Knowing that the trial is hers, Lilia places the cards in the proper order, saving them all, prompting everyone to flee through the exit. Lilia chooses to stay behind as Salem 7 approaches. She flips one of the cards, causing the entire room to flip and killing most of the 7, presumably herself, blasting young Lilia gleefully at the end of the first lesson. Okay, Kat, a lot to talk about in this episode. Give us your first impressions.
Oh my God. I loved starting from that video right there, that picture you just had of the castle.
Mm-hmm.
How it gave me reminded me a moment or two of like a Psycho vibe. I thought it might have been like, the Psycho house. But then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's a castle. Are we going to get like a castle vibe? And bam, Wicked Witch of the West, loved it. Maleficent, loved it. And when the other two showed up, the Good Witch of the North, and I wasn't sure who she was supposed to be for the moment, because I didn't catch the apple in her hand the first time they showed her. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, who's she supposed to be? And I talked to my friend John, and he's like, oh, she's the original Wicked Witch. I'm like, oh, right, that made the apple.
Snow White. Yeah. Snow White.
Like Snow White.
Of course, and
showing Rio's death in her death face. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude.
And then ending the episode with, interestingly enough, Lilia remembering her first lessons.
Yeah, beginning with either her mom or her grandmother. I wasn't sure who that was.
I think it was her grandmother.
It might be. And then how they're talking about time and it doesn't go the way they think to do. And I'm like, oh, my God. I loved it.
I'm going to be honest with you. It took me rewatch. I had to rewatch this episode because the first time watching it, I loved it, but because it was bouncing around so much,
you had to watch it twice as well.
It was a little bit like hard to follow what was going on, and I think a rewatch really helped with it. Some great moments. I got to give it out to Patti LuPone, who plays Lilia. She was phenomenal in this episode.
Yeah, this was her episode. And
like
we said last week, she's going to steal it. It's going to be her episode. It was her episode, and she stole it.
It most definitely was, and I just must say, Catherine Hahn looks ravishing in green.
Yeah, well, she did.
I
had wicked thoughts.
Well, we're not going there. Wicked's a few weeks away in the
not that many spoilers in the show.
But no, the episode was what I was expecting it to be, but in ways they did some things that I'm not sure about too, Kat, and we're going to get into those in a little bit. But I do think, like the rest of the episodes of Agatha, I did enjoy this episode quite a bit, and I'm really we've got 2 episodes left, so I got some things I found that we're going to talk about here. I can't wait to get into it. So let's get into it because it's time to energize phase 2. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into phase 2 of this podcast where we talk Easter eggs and trivia. And I found some interesting things, Kat. I've been doing some good research here. We got some, so let's get into some Easter eggs.
All
Um,
right.
Again, the title. This week's Agatha All Along episode is titled Death's Hand in Mine, which is another lyric from the Ballad of the Witch's Road, but it also connects Lilia's pulling the death card later on. Up next, this is, I think, was kind of a fun little, again, ties to WandaVision. Agatha mentions Billy can't read her mind, which is similar to what she told Wanda in WandaVision episode 8. Now, Kat, don't try to read my mind. You're going to get a nosebleed.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, I'm just making sure. Agatha calls herself Billy's old babysitter, which is, of course, a nod to WandaVision, especially in episode 7 when Agatha takes Tommy and Billy to her house. Next, we have Billy asks Agatha if she saw a body, referring to Wanda. This is a hilarious nod to the TV trope where if you don't see a body, they might not actually be dead. It's the MCU. Are we sure they're actually ever dead, Kat?
The only one that's staying dead so far is Natasha.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
Even then, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Billy tells Lilia he's reading her mind because it's so loud, which is the opposite of what Billy tells Agatha in WandaVision episode 7, where young Billy says it's quiet in her head. So, interesting. Of course, the first card Billy pulls when he's doing the tarot is the Magician, which also corresponds to his powers as Wiccan.
Was that when he pulled it or when Lily pulled it?
I think it was when he pulled it, actually. So
I don't know. I'm seeing Lily's hand there, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, it could have been. I think she might have picked it up and put it in its proper spot. On the 3 of Pentacles tarot card, you can see that each member of the coven, Agatha, Lilia, Jen, Alice, Billy, and Rio, is represented. The logo from the brochure where Lilia writes down the name of the coven in episode 2 is also shown. So, playing back on its own. And, of course, this big one. Although we all saw it coming, Rio is officially revealed to be the original Green is officially revealed to be the original Green Witch, aka Death. Death has appeared a few times in Marvel Comics. Her first appearance was in Marvel Mystery Comics in 1939, issue number 10, with the modern, more well-known version of the character first appearing in Captain Marvel issue 26 in 1968.
She's been around a while.
Just a few. And then, of course, finally, when Lila turns everything upside down and kills the Salem 7, you'll notice only 5 are impaled on the swords, which means 2 members are likely still out there. So, some interesting Easter eggs. Anything in there grab you, Kat?
I have a feeling that the 7 are not dead. I don't think that would kill them if they're as powerful as they're supposed to be. We'll see. I love the tarot readings. I think because tarot reading is one of those things that I've looked into a little bit myself, and I've always been a fan of it. That when Lily is doing it and all the cards she's reading to herself, she says the card to herself first and then flips it and it's a card. Almost like she's using her ability to perceive the future just a few seconds ahead so she can give you that ooh of, I knew this was going to be before you knew what it was going to say. And then obviously showing all the cards as they came out. And then, of course, the last one being Death crossed over.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's all of that is just very interesting here. And it leads into our next topic, which is a little bit deeper into the plot analysis. So let's burn off a little bit more Tesseract energy. Okay, guys, we've got some things to talk about here with this episode. Let's get into some plot analysis with a little help from our friends over at Screen Rant too. So, guys, Agatha All Along, episode 7 is full of story reveals as its predecessor was. This time linked primarily to the character of Lilia Calderon As has been the case with the MCU's Richard Road in previous installments, Agatha All Along Episode 7 provided another trial for the Coven to overcome. By the time Agatha All Along Episode 7's ending ends, it becomes clear which member of the Coven this specific trial belonged to. The trial involved a real-life spiritual practice, tarot card reading. This coincided with further questions about Billy Maximoff after Agatha All Along's Episode 6's ending teased his search for his brother Tommy. Above all else, Agatha All Along's cast was altered even further due to major character deaths, hints at untold power for others, and the massive story reveal that links to Rio Vidal's true identity. So I've got a few interesting discussion points here, Kat, and you kind of addressed one, but I want to go a little deeper on that. Have we seen the last of Lilia in Salem 7?
No.
That's my thinking, especially with Salem 7, because, Kat, I want your thoughts on this, because I think if it is the last time we see Salem 7, what an absolute waste.
Absolutely.
I mean, complete and total waste.
Yeah, all the build-up, the hype, the power they're using, the sneakiness, to end them like that would be a tragedy.
Yeah, it would be. And to not have... They've been built up so big, and having them go out like that, I think, would be a waste. So hopefully this is not the last we see of Salem 7. So next up is something that happened, and I think it's important, Kat, because I think it's going to lead to some other things in the next final 2 episodes. But Lilia returns Billy's spell book to him. At the end of Agatha All Along Episode 7, Billy retrieves his spell book from Lilia. The character mentioned in a previous episode that he lost the spell book, with Lilia finding it in the tunnels beneath the Witch's Road. As she ushered Billy out of the tower before she stayed behind to kill the Salem 7, Lilia gave Billy his spell book back. This now means Billy is better equipped to face the myriad dangers that likely await at the end of the Witch's Road, be it the threat of Ria Vidal's Lady Death now possesses to him, or the other perils that the Witch's Road conjures. Billy can draw upon his knowledge to overcome them. His spellbook has shown to help him do so in past episodes, and its return was depicted as an important moment going into the Agatha All Along 2-episode finale. Do you think this is a pretty big deal, Kat?
Absolutely. And I think this is what's going to help Billy be able to overcome whatever the final obstacle is going to be, is him having his book. And the one thing I really liked about his book when they showed it, and they showed you like the picture that's showing now for those who can see it, I loved how it's sort of Harry Potter-esque from the Half-Blood Prince, when he writes notes in the side of the articles or changes a few things or highlights some stuff. That made me think of what this is when I saw this. I'm like, that's very Harry Potter-like.
Yes, it very much was. A lot of fun little things in this episode, but I think this is going to be a very big deal.
Yeah.
Going into the final 2 episodes. And of course, too, I think another huge point is, of course, we knew this has been one of the worst kept secrets of the show. Rio Vidal is Lady Death. Marvel Comics' Lady Death has long been theorized to appear in the MCU, with Agatha All Along Episode 7 finally confirming how she does so. In this episode, Lilia uses her divination powers to fit together her seemingly non-linear life and came to the conclusion that death awaits her at the end of her journey. However, Lilia sees death in person, represented by Aubrey Plaza's Rio Vidal. There have been many clues throughout Agatha All Along that Rio is actually the MCU's Lady Death. In the absence of the Salem 7, Death could become the primary villain of the show in the 2-part finale. This would certainly make sense, as Rio has not been secretive about her desire to kill Agatha, something that links to her true nature as the MCU's personification of death. Which was a big reveal, Kat, and we've been calling it for a while. A lot of people have, but now it's official. Lady Death is in the MCU, and it is Rio Vidal.
Yep. And she looks so good too. They did a great job with her skeletal face, and the hood, her hair being part of the hood and everything. I just wish it would have been awesome to see like her left hand, where she's holding that like squid-looking, spider-looking thing, to be skeletal because it's in the light, and the right one holding the knife in the darkness to be her hand. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that you talk about that spider-looking thing. That looks like the flower that Agatha had given her.
Is that what it was? It was hard to tell in the picture I'm looking at. But I'm just saying, but because the left hand in the light, it should have been skeletal, and the right hand in the dark, it could have been her hand, not skeletal. That's what I mean.
Well, I think also you have to remember this is through Lilia's vision, so you might not get the full appearance of it yet.
Oh, true.
But speaking of Lady Death, I want to go into this a little deeper because the Jack Schaefer talked about the vision for Lady Death in a Screen Rant interview. When asked about the decision to turn Death into the original Green Witch and have her serve a similar role to Shiva as both destroyer and a creator, Schaefer went into depth about how they wanted to reinvent her for Agatha All Along and said the following. Yes, you're speaking my language. You understand our show. I love that. When we came up with the idea of incorporating Lady Death into the show, we did want to make her our own, and we were already playing in this pool of witches. What does it mean to be a witch? Thinking about ritual creation, the divine feminine of the witchcraft space, and so thinking of Lady Death as not being just about death, not just being about really destruction at all, that she is about the twin flames of birth and death. That's it, really sort of the natural cycle of growth and decay. That felt so right for this idea of the original Green Witch. I don't know if you just looked at her costume and insinuated that, but you're right on track. So they're maybe not going with the full cosmic thing, but maybe
no reason to.
Yeah, I mean,
let her be the quote unquote mortal form of death, her avatar or incarnation of her mortal form as the Green Witch.
Yeah,
perfect. You don't need cosmic powers in Agatha.
No, you don't, and death takes on very many different forms. So this worked for this. I'm really interested to see which directions they go with this, and somehow I think Aubrey Plaza's got herself locked into the MCU for a good while.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they're keeping Deadpool and even Thanos, who's quote unquote still around, although he got dusted and got his head cut off, I have a feeling we'll see Thanos again too.
I've seen Thanos come back from worse. So
remember, death won't let him die.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, there is that small problem as well.
Yeah. Also, too, Kat, I want to get into because next week is our last 2 episodes and Agatha is done. So I think it's kind of we need to focus on the journey that still is continuing. As Lilia sacrificed herself, Agatha, Billy, and Jen continued down the witch's road. As alluded to, Agatha's All Along finale spread over 2 episodes, both set to be released on Disney Plus on October 30th. Thus far, the trials of the Witch's Road have been attributed to Jen, Alice, Agatha, and Lilia in that order. As such, Billy Maximoff's trial is all that remains. In Agatha All Along episodes 8 and 9, Billy will face his trial. This will likely see him confront his past as William Kaplan and his new future as Billy Maximoff. Similarly, it could answer the lingering questions over Scarlet Witch's fate as well as where Tommy Maximoff is. But here's something that was interesting, Kat, and people kind of picked up on it, but I'm curious if you picked up on it. Meanwhile, Agatha and Rio will likely have a final showdown while mysteries remain over what Lilia's meant when she described Jennifer as the path ahead and someone of immense spiritual power in Agatha All Along episode 7, teasing a big finale for her as well. Did you happen to catch that, Kat?
I did. It caught the second time I watched it, actually, because I had to watch it twice as well. Because like you said, it jumped around. And just giving her look right there, it's like she knows something else is up. And I have a feeling she just may be one of those Salem 7 members. And I still think she is. I don't know why I think that, but if you go back a few panels to some of the pictures you were showing, there was one of the Salem 7 who is African American and has the same kind of jawline as this actress here. I don't know names. But
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that, but Jennifer Kale has always been a major player in the Marvel Magic realm, and a lot more than what people realize if you actually go back and look at her history. So they could be setting her up to be a bigger part of it as well. And I'm very, very intrigued to see what they're going to do with this. But I am excited for these final 2 episodes. I think this episode really was a good final. I feel like they wrapped up a lot of the loose ends so they can put the real focus on Agatha, Rio, and Billy in the final 2 episodes.
It also gave us a few tie-ups, like we were talking about. Like, is Rio deaf? Yes. Is he? Yes. Is this? Yes. Like, okay, cool. We got everything tied up we wanted to know. Minor stuff, at least.
Yeah, exactly. But Kat, we have been talking Agatha all along, but it is time to release a little bit more Tesseract energy. I can even see the glow coming from the screen here. Even that one little piece worries me. But let's go into phase 4. Okay, we have been talking about Agatha all along, Death's Hand in Mind. It was an interesting episode, a little bit all over the place, but a lot of fun as well. We have had a great time covering all things Agatha all along here on the Fandom Podcast Network. But as we enter phase 4, Kat, we're down to our last 2 episodes. So we need some predictions. We need some thoughts. What's going to happen? Are we going to see some familiar faces return? Are we going to, what do you think we're going to see?
First off, I want to ask a question. Was this the shortest episode in the season at 30 minutes?
It was either this one or the Billy flashback episode.
I think this one might have been a few minutes shorter. So yeah. When I was watching it, I actually looked at the time ending and I was like, 30 minutes, 47 seconds, 47 seconds. I'm like, that seems really short for this episode.
I think it was a good. I think it was a good. Well, but I think it might have been a good thing for this episode with all the time jumps and pulling the lost flashbacks and everything like that. I think it might have kept people from getting too completely confused.
Yeah, and anybody with Tourette's would be like, "No, can't watch it anymore. I'm done."
Yeah, exactly. So, any predictions as we head into the 2-part finale?
I don't want. No, I'm kidding. If I didn't have a prediction, I think something would be wrong with me. Salem 7 returns. I'd say probably either the last few minutes of the first half of the episode so that they can be in the fight for the second half. Or we show it immediately in the first episode, them fighting, and then do a flashback to what happened in the house, how they got out, and then we go to the story, second episode, story, big fight, final finish. So that's how I'm sort of picturing it's going to be one of those 2 ways. Either they story, they show up, we fight, we complete the season, or they're already there, they're fighting them, back, flashback, story, little fight, we get a final ending.
So for me, I think episode 8 is all about Billy's trial. And I think that getting kind of that closure on certain aspects, which would lead into episode 9, which I think will be the big confrontation, not only bringing Ben Salem 7, but Agatha and Rio as well. Maybe they take out Salem 7, then confront each other.
Yeah.
I do think we're going to see at least Alice and Lilia again before this episode is out. Maybe they're on the side of death now. And maybe it's we have that confrontation as well. There's still so many little things to wrap up. Will we get more about the fate of Scarlet Witch? Will we get more? Will we find out where Tommy is? Will we know the end game of the road itself? And what the ultimate goal is, and where is this all going to lead? And I think there's a lot of those questions.
I'm sure.
Or a carry over into maybe something called Vision Quest. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one. Season 2 of WandaVision. Well, technically.
No, technically, maybe season 3 of WandaVision or the second spinoff out of WandaVision. But we know Vision Quest is coming, so
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that's. I'm thinking more it's going to be the fight, then Billy's trial, and then the meet up with everybody, and then the final fight, and then the ending.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Excuse me. It's gonna be definitely interesting to see how this is all going to play out, and I'm really looking forward to the direction it goes. And we are going to be definitely covering it in full when it does happen. But Kat, Agatha's giving us that look again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Part of me wants to go to her. Part of me says, "Run."
I'm climbing in her lap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you're gonna just make like your namesake just curl up and start purring. Is that what it is? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
I'll give her a little knead.
Yeah, before this goes any further, let us move on. Is been True Believers as we cover everything that is Agatha All Along, and we'll be back for an extra double-sized show with the final 2 episodes here on the True Believers podcast, covering everything Marvel and the MCU here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And of course, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network in a lot of places, including here on our YouTube channel. And again, if you're watching, please give us a like, share us out, and subscribe. If you are listening via audio, you can find us on our homepage at fpnet.podbean.com. Of course, you can catch us on any of those major podcast catchers out there, whether it be iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, or so many others. Of course, I'm Kyle. You can find me on social media. You can find me all over Facebook, including at the Fandom Podcast Network page and the True Believers page, or my own page, Kyle Wagner. You can also find me on Twitter at AKyleW, also on Discord at AKyleW. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. Kat, where can we put the catnip down so we get you on the social media?
If you're putting catnip down, it'll be at StaticCat1. If you're just trying treats, I'm probably sleeping.
Yeah. No more treats for the cat. But guys, it has been a blast talking Agatha All Along. Death's Hand in Mind. Kat, it's always a pleasure to talk the MCU with you, and I'm looking forward to next week's double episode finale. Lots of homework for you, Kat. Lots of homework for you.
I'm probably going to have to watch that episode 2 or 3 times before we get to this podcast, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in there we're going to want to catch.
Okay, one last prediction from you. Give me run times for each episode.
If they do it the smart way, I would say 41 minutes for the first one and 48 for the second one.
I'm going 40 minutes for episode 8, and I'm going to say 50 minutes for episode 9. So we'll see what that. Just remember too, when you watch episode 9, watch all the way through the credits.
All the way through, yes, guys. Those of you who are listening and watching, there will be a spoiler at the end of 9. If there's not, they've done something wrong.
Yes. Something is wrong within the Marvel Universe if there is no stinger at the end of this episode. But, Kat, it has been a pleasure. And as we get ready to get out of here, as always, Excelsior, True Believers, and make ours Marvel.